Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you, and thanks, Danielle, for having me on to speak today. I'm really excited to share our story about what we're up to at the Vendry. Also, want to say that everything I'm going to talk about is entirely free. We are a venture-backed company that is currently on a mission to build resources that can help you as event professionals, and we'll focus on monetization next year as the industry comes back. And so, really appreciate the opportunity to share our story. I thought to make it a little more fun, I would share the story about the founding of the company and our evolution to where we are today, give a little demo, give insight to our roadmap at the end, and then, of course, happy to answer any questions that come up. So with that, I'll get started. So I'm going to share my screen and go into the presentation. So my name is Daphne Hopino. I'm the CEO and founder of the Vendry. We are typically based in New York City, although our team is now spread all over the US, working really well, fortunately, remotely. Um, I thought I could tell our story by starting with who I am. So, typically based in Brooklyn, New York, but originally from the DC area. I thought this was sort of funny, so I'd include it. I recently found a notebook with a picture of my first business plan. So, had an entrepreneurial spirit at an early age. This was for a Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen fan club. It's my business model. So my interests have evolved, but was always excited to start my own company. I studied engineering in college, worked at a software company for many years. When I joined, we were 10 people. When I left 8 years later, we had IPO'd. So this is me in front of the New York Stock Exchange. And then I traveled for a bit with my husband, moved back to Brooklyn, and had a baby and launched a company at the same time. So I'm the proud mother of a 16-month-old named Arthur, and the Vendry is about 16 months old. So, what inspired me and our team to launch the Vendry? I mentioned I worked at a software company for many years. I ran partnerships, and so while I was not formally on the events team, events were a big part of my life. I planned everything from tons of field marketing dinners to trade show booths at big conferences, CES, everything like that, all over the world, actually. And I very much felt the value of our company investing in events for my personal goals and objectives. So always, did a lot of events, and frankly, the process always felt a little haphazard. So I'll get back to that. But after I left Yext, took a sabbatical. I got married on that sabbatical. I didn't have a job at the time, so I planned my wedding, and I was amazed at how many resources there were out there for brides. So many magazines, so many Instagram handles to follow, so many blogs, and venture capital had actually thrown a ton of money into tech startups that could make it easier for brides and grooms to plan their weddings. So there's the Knot, Zola, Wedding Wire, what have you. But when I thought about it, it's like the wedding market is 70 billion of spend a year in North America. The corporate market is 300 billion plus of spend. So you have this massive, many more people in that market. And while you have these amazing newsletters, editorial sites like BizBash Event Marketer, I read them every day. You didn't really have, the wedding wires and knots of the world for the corporate market. And when we were planning events, we cared about finding venues for private dining for 50 people in Las Vegas, not the Barnes and Hudson Valley that we could find on those wedding sites. And so I felt like there was an opportunity to build a technology platform, leveraging me and my network skill set, that could help corporate event planners find the right ideas, venues, vendors for their events. And so with that, we got started. So we raised about 1.8 million from two of New York's top venture firms, Primary Ventures Founder Collective. Very proud to count them as partners. And our team slowly came together. So we're a small but mighty team of 4, again, typically based in Brooklyn, New York. And we have big growth plans ahead of us. So Matt was my previous colleague at Yext, and then Carter ran creative at a big experiential agency. She runs our marketing, and Hannah, who has a journalism background, runs community. And so we sort of sat there as a team and had to think, how do we build this marketplace, and why why doesn't Yelp fill this need? You know, Yelp is a massive company. It has all these small businesses listed. And why was it that the corporate events team was never going to Yelp to find venues and vendors? And what we did was we looked at tons of websites of venues and vendors in the event space. And so, top to bottom here, we looked at a fabrication studio, we looked at a rentals company, we looked at a balloon artist that does lots of cool events around New York City, and a catering company. And what we saw was that the core of how they marketed themselves on their website really surrounded photos of their previous work. And so we decided we're going to launch, and you know, Yelp, while it has all these user generated photos, it didn't really have place for a company to represent their own portfolio. And so we decided to launch a website that was really built around this imagery of the previous events that these companies had worked on, or in a venue's case, hosted. And so you can see these are screenshots from our real site, what a vendor profile looks like on the left-hand side. This is a cool event design and production company in New York. On a venue profile, you could actually see photos of real events that had happened at that venue, which is of course helpful. And so we launched the website in April of 2019 with a mission of being a marketplace where corporate event planners would find venues and vendors for their events. And of course, where the venues and vendors would get leads from this coveted buyer, and also be able to build a reputation. So build up reviews and yeah, build up a strong presence on the internet related to their corporate work. And so these again are just screenshots from our site. So on the left-hand side, when you're looking for a vendor, you know, here's a list of production companies in New York. On the right-hand side, looking at venues in the New York market. And one thing that we could do that was really cool is, since we have thousands and thousands of photos that have been uploaded of real experiential activations and what we call really brand-backed events. So I don't care if it's UNICEF or Nike, but these are events that are all around promoting a brand rather than, say, a social event. You can sort through them in fun ways as you look for inspiration. So for example, you can say, show me pop-ups that happen in the LA market. And if you click into them, you can see who worked on them, where did they happen. If you're planning a holiday party and you want a theme idea, you can browse through all of our themes. So here are examples of summer camp themed events around the world. You can look at them by industry. So here are food and beverage industry events around the world, all different ways to browse through this data, through these photos, to get inspiration for your event. And so, you know, things were going good. The network we launched, and it honestly took off. Like, our graphs were just up and to the right. I think I can say very confidently that right when we launched, it was clear we had sort of hit a nerve, and that this market really gravitated to the platform, which also, to be fair, was free, that we were offering them. And then something sort of unexpected happened, which is that this is still in a pre-COVID world. I remember driving with my husband and son in upstate New York, and I got an email from a woman at Facebook who said, "Hey, love the Vendry. I plan events for Instagram, but I see a bunch of the Instagram events that my team produced are on your site because our vendors uploaded them." And she didn't ask me to take them down. She said, "Do you mind crediting my name and my team's names to those events?" And I didn't have the ability, we hadn't built the ability for individual people to get credit on events they'd worked on, just the companies. But this was not the first time I got this email. And I started hearing this more and more. And I realized that, you know, while I called this presentation LinkedIn for the event industry, maybe what it could be called is, we were building IMDb for the events industry. And so just like on IMDb, when a movie's listed, everyone from the movie star down to the sound assistant gets their credit on there. We sort of found this new mission to say, we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to help event professionals get credit for the productions they were involved with. And so this is still before COVID. We launched what we called internally people profiles. And so any event professional could sign up on the Vendry for free and build a professional profile just like you would on LinkedIn. But unlike LinkedIn, because we built this for events, you could upload or tag yourself if the photos were already on our site to events that you'd worked on, we made sure to try to get crediting to be as right as possible. And so, maybe you worked on an event when you were working at this catering company or at this floral company, and everything sort of would align. So you would say, I worked on this while working at this company, and here's what I did. So you can see here, when you look at an event page now, you might see people credits of people who were involved with that event. And there's no shying away. So we launched this in February, and then COVID hit like 3 weeks later, or hit in a way where we knew this wasn't going to be a short-term pause in the industry. And as we watched what was happening with COVID and the devastation it was basically having on the live events industry, we sort of found this new mission in what we built, and the ability for it to be a grounding platform for the professionals that are scrambling to maybe redo their resumes, or ensure that they are represented well, when people Google their name online. And also, of course, for hiring companies, whether you're hiring for virtual events, hybrid, live down the line, to have a place where they could go quickly rebuild their teams or find freelancers when events do come back. And I very much believe live events are going to come back full force. And so we added the ability for event professionals to say if they're available for freelance, part-time, full-time work. We'll probably add internships as well. And again, the screenshot that you hear is live. So this is, we have a live member directory on our site with many hundreds of event pros listed now, and I expect soon to be many thousands. And so what I like to say is, we didn't pivot as a company. Our mission of being a marketplace for the event industry very much still holds, but I would definitely say that our mission evolved. And, again, we are fortunate to have venture funding that allows us to punt a focus of monetization until events do come back, sometime next year. And for now, our full focus and investment as a company is in building a professional network for the events industry, helping professionals sort of navigate these challenging times, and then, find jobs if they're in that position when the industry comes back. And so I'll do a little demo. We have a news feed. So the value proposition that we want to offer to event professionals right now is we will keep you posted with the latest industry news. We have an editorial team. We update the news feed on our site every single day. We push that news out through our email list, through our Instagram handle. And we definitely think that one value proposition we can do is have sort of an unbiased opinion. So we're not just going to promote, news from one media outlet, but we'll say, here is what you should be reading to keep up with the latest in the industry. We'll have a resources section where you can find stuff like contract language, templates, everything you might need for your career in events. And then what we also have are networking opportunities. And so members of our community sort of raise their hand and offer to host what are really just Zoom calls with other members of our community. Last week we had one for venue managers. This week I think we have two, one for fabricators and one for nonprofit event planners. But very much would encourage all of you to look at our community events and try to attend one. And then we'll have job postings before the end of the year. So I'll just do a little demo. I'll keep it brief, and happy to jump back in at any time if people have questions. But here you can see our site. So I'm actually logged in. So everyone, when you create an account on the site, you have your personal profile. And so just showing you quickly, you can customize your URL. So it could be something that's in your email signature, or wherever you put it, you really can feel ownership over that URL. You have your profile photo. You can write a little bit about yourself, link to your LinkedIn, your website, your email. And then under work experience, you can say, I'm available for part-time, full-time freelance work. You can add a little descriptor giving more context to that. You can list all the previous companies you worked at, and then you can also actually tag up to 50 skills that you have that specifically relate to events. You can list your affiliations, so PCMA, MPI, any associations you might be involved with, and then also your degrees and certifications, whether they're what you studied in college or certificates that you've gotten, again, specific to events. All of this will appear on your profile and also be searchable. This is where, if you want to see if any events you worked on are on our site, you can just browse all of our events here. So you can say, okay, let me see what CES events they have. You can hide the ones that aren't relevant to you. You can say, I used to work at Nike, what Nike events are on here. And if you say, yep, I worked on that event, you can request credit. So you can say, these are the two places that I said I worked. So at the Vendry, I was the creative director. And then you can click to request credit, and it'll get routed to whoever had uploaded that event. And if events you worked on weren't on the Vendry, you can click add to your portfolio and actually upload photos or videos of events you've worked on yourself. And last but not least, if you're in a giving spirit, especially, and you have any venues or vendors, especially those that you have a close relationship to and are hurting right now, you can write them reviews on the Vendry, and it's just sort of a feel good that'll show up on their profile. So in our community section, there are really three parts to browse right now. This is our news feed. It updates regularly. You can like the articles, you can share them, you can comment on them for others to see, your perspective. And then the most popular ones are listed here on the right-hand side. Feel free to email our team if there's a blog post or article that you think should get added, and we'd happily give you credit. This is our member directory, where again, you can search anywhere in the world. So you can say, I'm interested in seeing who's on here from Los Angeles. I want to look up freelancers specifically. You can search by keywords. So people who are comfortable with Zoom, or who have, budgeting in their skill set. And then last but not least, these are networking events. And so I mentioned, if you do anything with nonprofits and you'd be interested to join this conversation, this is where I guess I'd already RSVP'd attending. But you can also often see who's hosting the discussion. So Austin is hosting this event, and you can RSVP directly from your login. And so that's what we have at the Vendry. And I only showed the personal profiles, but if you do run an agency, venue, or vendor, you can also add your business profile, and you'll be an admin of that and be able to manage it so it shows up either in our vendor section or our venue section. And as I mentioned, while we only really promote those 5 markets right now, anybody in the world can sign up, and we'll be launching other markets before the end of the year. So thank you so much for, I forgot, I was going to tell you a little bit about our roadmap. So quickly, some things that we're working on before the end of the year. We're going to allow members of our community to post to our news feed. So here's an example on the left-hand side of Lindsay McKenna posting a helpful article to the community. We're going to launch a mobile app so that you can access that news feed more easily on your phone. When you RSVP for a networking event, you'll be able to see who else is attending to sort of prep your networking ahead of time. Those skills and affiliations, you'll be able to search by those in our member directory. And you can see here how on the left-hand side, you can expect that we'll have forums and job postings in the coming months. And so other ways that we're trying to add value and help you connect with your peers and get access to helpful information during these crazy times. So thank you so much, and look forward to questions.